Hello, this is Anthony Parent, and Claudine is off this week, so it's just me. I wanted to give an update on the FATCA lawsuit that was dismissed. This is Mark Crawford versus Department of Treasury. The whole repeal FATCA movement feels like it's lost something big here, and I would say this isn't exactly unexpected. It is common for federal courts to rule in favor of the federal government, and common is sort of an understatement. Jim Bopp and his team are fantastic attorneys, and they wrote a response to the Sixth Circuit that sort of, I think, puts this in context to say, does the Sixth Circuit actually have a point when it dismissed this lawsuit? And I would say, no, they don't. In fact, the Sixth Circuit rewrote Supreme Court precedent in order to kick out this lawsuit. What it comes down to is the issue of standing. The Sixth Circuit basically says that, well, no one's really harmed by FATCA, that it wasn't a certain harm. It was prospective harm. Well, I know a lot of you were watching the unintended consequences of FATCA hearing if you weren't there in person. And did you notice one person? Did you notice one person in there that said FATCA didn't cause some harm to U.S. persons? I recall the Democrats, those who oppose right now the repeal of FATCA, acknowledging that no, there are Americans who are being damaged by FATCA. Their response was maybe adjusting FATCA, coming up with a way to reduce the damage. And of course, the repeal FATCA side, we articulated our reasons why through some fantastic witnesses, including Jim Bopp, Rand Paul. We had Mark Crawford as well, the lead plaintiff, and Danny Cattell, along with Donna Lane Nelson, who gave a fantastic video introduction to the damages that caused her, where she was had a choice to either, I guess, move back to the U.S. and leave her husband behind, or renounce her citizenship. And so here's a Sixth Circuit saying, well, they're not really harmed. So it's sort of, they rewrote the law in a way that goes beyond what it should be. They really stretched the bounds of the law a little too far, in my opinion. The Sixth Circuit also did something else. They said that Roe versus Wade got it wrong, not on the issue of the right to privacy, but whether or not, in that case, the woman seeking the abortion at the time actually had standing. And Jim Bopp and Richard Colson bring up the point that, if Texas didn't say, oh, we're not going to outlaw abortion, but what we're going to do is we're going to make these really big compliance things to basically make it impossible for women to get abortions, well, then that would be permissible. And that's really what the Sixth Circuit is saying, because they heightened this standing requirement so much that you actually have to be directly harmed and imminently harmed. Again, no longer the threats of harm, but it actually has to be happening right now. And if that's true, then threats are, what are threats? Threats are things that have yet to happen. So what they're saying is the only things that are now actionable are things that are happening. Well, those aren't threats. Those are things that are happening. And if that's true, well, then we got to get rid of entire areas of law. So I think, I was disappointed to see the suit was dismissed. But when you see the reasons why, it is such a flimsy dismissal that if this does go to the Supreme Court, and Elena Kagan will be the one granting cert or denying it. And if Elena Kagan sees that the standing requirement of Roe versus Wade has been infringed upon, my guess is she'll probably want this to go to the Supreme Court. And once the Supreme Court sees this and they see that the Sixth Circuit created this new, somewhat nearly impossible definition of standing, I think we see a great hope that FATCA would be overturned by the courts. Now, that's not to say I don't think we should continue our efforts. Summer has come and Congress has gone on recess. And it seems a little momentum is gone and people are sort of getting disillusioned. But look, this is the way it is. Congress is on summer vacation right now. So I think it's important that we keep our chin up and keep going and keep documenting and keep spreading this around. The Sixth Circuit says you weren't actually damaged. Huh. Well, what do you think about that? This is Anthony Parent, and I thank you for watching.